Who's this hand job?
It's my next door neighbor. He brought me a beer. Hey.
The Greatest Beer Run Ever is a movie that I actually only learned about a week ago when I found the trailer for the first time as I was looking up what movies were coming out this week that I could go and see. And I decided I wanted to check this one out because this really is my kind of movie. I really like movies that tell true stories and that take a person from history and tell us about what they did and how they kind of changed the world, whether it was actually changing the world or changing the lives of some individuals that they came in contact with, which is what this one is very much about. It's about a man who, during the Vietnam War, decides that he wants to go and support his friends who are out there fighting. And so he just decides to one day get up and go ahead and take them all some beers. And so that was a very interesting story to me. And I have to say that I really actually enjoyed this movie quite a lot. It reminded me in many ways of the movie Hacksaw Ridge, though I'll say it's nowhere near as good as Hacksaw Ridge. I think that's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. But this one had that very similar story of a man who wants to do his part, who realizes he's not able to do what he wants, but also has this different approach about how they go about helping others. In the case of Hacksaw Ridge, is he's going out there to save people, to be a medic. In the case of this one, is he's going to deliver them beers, and he's just going to give them a little pick-me-up and let them show them that people back at the country still care about what they're doing, still care about who they are. And so I really liked that approach. Now, in the case of him, he's actually not a military person. He just kind of goes over there to do this, and that leads to some fun interactions in the movie as he's kind of going between the different military places, and he's trying to work his way around of how he can find his friends, and it leads to some fun interactions. It leads to him getting into some dangerous positions, and so I really enjoyed that. I think that Zac Efron did a great job as the main character, and that I think that he was a very interesting lead and that he really delivered on what that person was supposed to represent. And so I was a big fan of all of that. I liked the fact that it is in fact a war movie. I like war movies. There's not a ton of action in this film. It definitely doesn't focus on that, but there are some moments that you do see the fighting and you do see the aftermath of the fighting, and it can be a little bit bloody. Nothing that you're going to see that's quite on par with something like Saving Private Ryan or Hacksaw Ridge, but there is a little bit. And so that is something that I do want to bring up in this review, is that this is a movie that's not really meant for all ages. I think that it can be good for anyone who's a teenager and above if they've got someone watching with them, but it's not something that I would recommend for younger viewers at all. First of all, because it is rated R, and the reason for that is the fact that there are several uses of the F word. Not nearly as many as you get in other films, but they do say it a couple of times. You also do have some parts that are decently bloody. Again, it's not as bad as a lot of other war movies that you may have seen, but it can be a little bit bloody on occasion. The other thing with this one, and it's kind of an interesting thing, is obviously due to the title of the movie, you know that this is going to have a lot of alcohol involved. There's a lot of beer in this movie. But what I like about it is the fact that it doesn't ever try and promote beer. It's not like, oh, you should be drinking beer, this is what it is. There's actually a line in the film where Zac Efron makes the note that it's not about the beer. That's not the whole point of this. Isn't really the beer. That just happens to be what he's bringing. It's about the fact that he's showing support for those who are fighting for his country. And I really like that message, and so I really liked this movie for that. I like the fact that it focused on a man's personal desire to help and the way that he was able to give his help in his own unique way. And that's something that I've always been a big fan of, is understanding that everybody's unique, everybody has something different that they can offer, and I love movies that showcase that showcase somebody thinking outside the box, doing something differently, and helping others because of what they're willing to do. And so for that reason, this movie is really a good time, and I don't think it's going to be running in theaters for a very long time, but if you have the opportunity to see it in theaters, I do recommend that. If not, it's going to be on Apple TV. If you have that, please check it out. I think it's a great movie. I highly recommend it. I'm going to go ahead and give this a B+. But guys, have you had the opportunity to see this one? Do you think that it's as good as I thought it was, or are you a little bit unsure about how you feel? Please let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear from you. As for other videos, please check out my review of Hocus Pocus 2, as well as any of my content on the latest season of Cobra Kai, and I will see you all in the next one.